Hi guys, welcome to the Coffee Break Interview video podcast. I'm Dr. Nathan Ho and I'm your host today. Today our special guest is Dr. David Phelps. David is a dentist and a nationally recognized speaker on creating freedom, building real estate businesses, and investing in real estate. Welcome to the show, David. How are you today?
Nathan, I'm doing great. Great to be with you, sir.
You know, it's such a privilege and an honor to have you on this video podcast. Thank you so much. I know you used to own and manage a private practice for over 21 years. While you were still in dental school, you began your real estate investment by joint venturing with your father on your first real estate property in 1980. 3 years later, you sold a property and took $25,000 on capital gain share, and you leveraged that into 31 properties, later produced $15,000 net cash flow. I know you have a great story to tell. So let's start with your journey in dentistry. When did you get into dentistry?
Well, I started my education at Baylor here in Dallas in 1979, graduated in 1983. So I was licensed and dangerous in the summer of 1983.
and why did you get into dentistry? What was your motivation factors that drive you into dentistry?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a question I ask other dentists as well, because I think it's always fun to hear the backstory. Well, my father was an eye surgeon, an ophthalmologist, and so of course I was always around. My dad, his peers, and I just saw and that having that, being educated and going into a career profession seemed to be a good thing to do. No one pushed me to do it. My dad did not tell me, you have to do this. I think I was expected to go to school and work hard and get good grades. And, I found that by doing that, we were kind of applauded. Teachers and people would say, well, good for you. Good for you. You can make the grades. You can take the tests. So I thought I was going to go into medicine. I just kind of followed my father's footsteps, right? Because it seemed like the logical thing to do. But interestingly enough, like a lot of us, I went through orthodontic treatment therapy when I was, in the middle school into early high school. And my orthodontist that treated me was really a genuine person who really took, I don't know if he did this with everybody, maybe he did, but he seemed to take special attention with me and had conversations with me. And he wasn't just flying around, changing elastics and wires. He actually spent time talking to me about what my aspirations were. And he didn't try to convince me about dentistry. He just, always said, well, good for you and keep on the track. And, but those conversations with him made me feel like, well, hey, dentistry is a great profession as well. It's in healthcare. You're serving people. And I just started to think, this man, just like my father, who I had immense respect for, I respected this man because I saw he was a very good man, high quality. He cared about people. I got to know his family and his kids. And I thought, dentistry. I never thought about being a dentist. And so I just started thinking about that. And I think I still kind of weighed between medicine and dentistry until I was probably, into college. And then I just made my decision. One other thing that I did too, Nathan, I'll tell you, is that I spent some time, I know you volunteered in a hospital, in a dental clinic. I didn't volunteer. I actually, I was employed as an orderly in the hospital where my father worked. And I got to get a lot of insights about, the life of doctors. Of course, I knew my dad's life, and he worked hard, and I respected that. But the more I started to see the long hours that they put in the mornings, they had to come and do rounds in the morning to see their patients that they had done surgery on. Then they went to their office and saw patients all day. And then after work, they had to go see their patients in the hospital. I thought, those are some really long hours. My dad was a great dad, but he was gone a lot because that was the career he chose. And he was dedicated to his patients just like we are, but it meant long hours. So those two things probably pushed me in towards dentistry, which I will tell you, I never regret the decision. It was a great decision.
Awesome. I strongly believe that dentistry is a great profession because we have so many options, right? We can be a cosmetic dentist. We can be a business owner. We can just be a general dentist. We can be doing surgeries. There's so many options that other career don't have. So, but being a dentist today is not the same as in the past. Students are graduating with a pile of debts, and it costs them a lot of money to open a private practice. And the market is very, very competitive these days. So what do you think new dentists should do to be successful in this new market?
Yeah, another great question. And I've thought about this a lot, and I have the opportunity and the privilege to talk to and work with on different bases, young dentists coming out of school. And as you said, most of them are coming out with significant amounts of debt, way, way more than I came out when I graduated some years back. And that debt load is something I think that's obviously it's good debt in the way that it's in debt that's been used to invest in oneself, the education, so I don't think it's bad in itself, but people have to be very careful about the debt. And I think in our society today, debt has almost become like it's almost like a norm. It's like if you don't have debt, if you're not using debt to do anything in your life, then you're not a normal American. Our government paves the way by just having deficits year after year. So it's kind of a norm, and that's a bad thing, because in our own personal lives, debt that compounds, increases, only is a drag on one's ability to, I think, be happy and have freedom. So coming out of school with debt in and of itself is a little bit of a disadvantage, but it can be a motivator. A motivator would be how you get started in practice. I think it would be very difficult and probably unwise, and I know there's always exceptions, but in general, I would say not a good idea for a young dentist coming out of school with debt and knowing as little as we know when we're just coming out of school to try to go into a de novo startup practice. Even if you had somebody who gave you the money or a bank would loan you the money, it's just not a good idea, because dentistry is much more of a business today than it was, again, when I was coming out of school. Much, much more today. As you said, it's more competitive. So there's so much we need to learn, anybody coming out of school about business today. It's imperative that we learn about business. And of course, we have to increase our clinical skills. We need to learn about communicating with people, relationships. How do you hire? How do you deal with staff? Leadership. There are so many pieces of the puzzle that we don't know. So I would say the best thing to do would not be go to try to start a practice right away. I would say find the best mentor, the best private practice dentist in an area that you live in or you want to be in, but seek that person. Don't go for the money. Don't go for who would like offer you the biggest percentage on production or collection or give you the biggest base. I mean, yes, you've got to be able to make a living and pay your debts and pay your bills. But you find the best mentor, meaning someone who has a very good practice, who has values and has a philosophy of treating patients, who's well known, respected, kind of like the orthodontist that I was talking to you about earlier, that I really, who inspired me. Find that person and dedicate, I would say, a minimum 2 years. Now, I'm not saying you have to go into that practice like you're going to buy in or anything like that. No. It doesn't have to be that way. It could, but dedicate 2 years, because I think it's fair. If you're going to have a mentor who really serves and wants to give back and invest in you, the young dentist, to help you get going, you need to give them 2 years. And you'll learn a lot in 2 years from someone like that who is there willing to help you and mentor you and show you the way. Then towards the end of that 2 years, now you've got a base of who you are, where you are in life with finances. Now you decide where to go next. You will have a chance to be inspired and meet people, the circle of influence of your mentor, because that mentor is going to know a lot of other good people. So it's about who you know, and he or she may help you find the next place to go if it's not in that practice. So that's what I would tell young doctors to do. There's nothing, the fastest track is not just to get out there and struggle yourself. It's not necessarily more CE, although that's important, but the fastest track is get under the guidance of somebody who's really good. You mentioned Dr. Mike Abernathy, one of my best friends, who was very helpful in some areas of my practice. If you could go spend a year or two under Mike Abernathy, working side by side or under him, wouldn't you not do that today, Nathan Ho? If you were starting over, I bet you would do it in a heartbeat, right? Because you learn so much.
I would do that in a heartbeat. And you know what? I just had lunch with Dr. Mike Abernathy 2 weeks ago, and I'm still learning. And that's 10 years after I graduated from dental school. He has a lot to offer. So those are great, solid advice, David. Thank you so much. There are some speculations that dentistry will be like the medical and pharmacy sectors, where insurance company pretty much control how they operate. What is your vision for dentistry in the next 5 years?
Yeah, well, I recently made a post about that, and not surprisingly, but I do things by intention. We talk about intention. I do things by intention. I like to be a little bit of a disruptor. Why? Because I like to make people think. I like to make people think about to go deeper into who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it. Sometimes we get into a role in life. We all can do this, where we get complacent, where things are going pretty well, and we just go, well, it's just going to stay that way. Look, here's the deal. Everything's changing. Everything, not just dentistry, not just healthcare. Everything is changing today at light speed, way, way faster than it did even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly 20 and 30 years ago. None of us can depend on anything in our lives, personal, business, the technology, the automation, the artificial intelligence. It's changing things at light speed. We cannot get complacent, even if we're doing well right now. So I try to kind of throw things out sometimes in groups or when I'm talking or whatever to make people think about where they are, even if they're doing well. So my vision for where dentistry is going, and again, this is not being pessimistic. This is not saying, oh, this is terrible. I'm just saying what it is, but there's opportunities. Yes, the insurance companies are big. We're not going to take them down. The ADA is not going to take them down. We're small potatoes. Look, you have to look at where the money is in life. It's not fair, but it's where it is. Where is the money? Insurance companies. Where's the money? Wall Street, corporate. There's so much money in those two entities, insurance and corporate, that they are essentially coming together now more and more to put together the corporate type clinics where the corporations, the DSOs, have the leverage because they're working with the insurance companies, so they can get better reimbursements. They can get better deals on supplies and manufacturing. They can get better deals on real estate or leases. As a solo dentist, I think we got two choices, essentially, over the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And we have to just decide. There's not a right or wrong here, Nathan. It's not at all. It's just we have to decide. If you want to stay private practice, small dentist, or even small group, 1 practice, 2 practice, maybe you got a couple associates, maybe you're in a small partnership. That's cool. But what you've got to do is you've got to remain very convicted about the type of service, about your branding, about your marketing, about your culture, the things that you do about referral marketing. Those things are going to be critical. You've got to be great in business, and you've got to be a really good dentist or have dentists and providers that do really exceptional service. Can it be done? Yes. Will most be able to do it? I will say no. It's survival of the fittest, Nathan. There's great dentists out there, great people, but do they have what it takes to remain in that ideal, for most people, ideal solo private practice that I think we all came out of school wanting to do and have for the rest of our careers? That's what we want, most of us. Not everybody, but most of us want that. If that's not who you are, then you can look more at the business side of dentistry. Again, either way, you've got to be in business. But business side means maybe you look at joining the ranks and creating your own small group, maybe a type of DSO. You may want to do that and be really good and make it a really good DSO. Patients, there's a whole stream of patients. We have, in any town, we have Walmart, which provides lower prices and a whole lot of goods. But you might want to go to Ace Hardware to get some help and specific advice on a specific type of a tool or product. Restaurants, we have restaurants that are fast food where they're quick and you go in and you know what you're going to get. It's not great stuff, but it's good enough, right? It's good enough to, you can eat and you'll survive, hopefully, right? Most cases. Or you can decide to go to an upper top shelf steak and seafood place because you want the experience. In life, there's only going to be a certain number of people that have the affluence to always choose the best of the best. And if you want to serve that group of people, then you've got to be intentional about where they are, so where you position yourself and how you meet those needs. And then if you decide to do that, go for it. Do it. Be that best. If you decide where you're going to live doesn't have that demographic, then you got to make a different decision and decide how you're going to do that part of your life. Just be intentional about it. That's all I'm saying. Be intentional. Don't just drift. Don't just let life and changes dictate to you, because they will if you're not focused on what you want. So yeah, I disrupted some things recently, but I want people to think and come back and say, well, am I doing the right thing? Do I need to do things better, differently, right? To maintain my course, or do I want to change right now? There's like a window of opportunity to make that change. And I think it's going to get harder and harder for people that are kind of in a middle. I don't think a hybrid model, meaning where you try to do some fee for service and then you have, 50%, PPO, because if you're a solo practitioner, the PPO-driven model, the insurance, is going to continue to drive reimbursement rates down, down, down. You have no leverage as a soloist, so you still could be a great dentist and doing the best you can, but the insurance companies, unfortunately, they don't care. They don't care if you're a better PPO dentist than the one down the street. They don't care. It's all about the numbers and money to them. And I know that hurts the heart of us who care and want to do the best. It seems unfair, but we've got to get over unfair. We've got to just say, this is what it is. Now, in all this chaos and the change, there's opportunity. So decide, get around other people who are also thinking the same way. Small groups, mastermind groups, get involved, be on the forums, and exchange ideas, because that's where you get clarity. All right, I think I ran with that way too long, but you opened up this little Pandora's box, so I took it and ran with it.
You know what? That's a great explanations and a great advice there, because on the Business of Dentistry group, you only posted a statements, right, to trigger some conversations, and it worked. So I'm glad I get to interview you this morning to hear your explanations. I know many dentists that have to work in their 70s, and they work because they have to, not because they want to, right? So what are some mistakes that you see dentists or practice owners are making in their career that can prevent them from having the freedom to retire?
Well, there's quite a few of those. We talked a few minutes ago about debt. So whether you're a young dentist and starting out with debt, you've got to learn how to manage the debt. We talked a little bit about that and how not to let debt snowball, to be careful about that. We for a dentist who's later in life, who's not really been able to monitor their debt load, debt continues to increase, and people tend to think, well, I've got plenty of time. So you might be in your 40s, you might be in mid 40s, you might be in your 50s, and you're still got a lot of debt because you never learn how to manage debt. You use the consumption model that America seems to make available to everybody, right? You deserve it, so go have it. So people live these lives, a lot of it based on consumption. As long as they're working, they can kind of keep their head above water. It's like treading water. As long as I can go to work, I can pay their credit card debt, I can pay the lease on the cars and the vacation home. But what happens is you get to a point in life where you'd like to slow down. Maybe you've got some health issues, and so you kind of need to slow down. You'd like to transition out, but this debt load is keeping you working. So that's what happens to a lot of people who have to work into their 70s. They didn't intentionally want to do that. They're having to do it. That's not a good place to be. So debt's another one. Here's a really big one, Nathan. Divorce. Oh yeah, divorce. Unfortunately, it's not just dentists. Our society today, it's like, average is like 1 in 2 marriages end up in divorce. We both know, unfortunately, colleagues of ours that have not only gone through 1, 2, but like three marriages. That's never a wealth producer, besides all the emotional baggage that divorce creates. Go ahead.
Can I take a 1 minute break so I can go give my wife a kiss real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you that break. But yeah, Dennis will ask me, David, I need to talk about asset protection. I finally got some assets. I got some investments, and I'm like worried about lawsuits and stuff like. How do I protect that? And I've heard about all these wild machinations about offshore trusts and this. I go, look, your best asset protection is start with your marriage. Seriously. And again, I'm saying that tongue in cheek because I have gone through a marriage. Okay. So I raise my hand and say, I've been there. I've experienced it. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't even because I was not even focused. We had some health issues with a daughter. So I'm not making that as an excuse. Could I have done better in hindsight? Yeah, always could do better in hindsight, always looking back, but there's lessons to be learned. And the lesson I want to give to dentists who are married and hopefully in their first marriage and raising family, it's a lot to take on, but you've got to remember that marriage, that family structure, that's your core to everything. Because at the end of the day, end of life, as people look back, and I've had a chance to talk to people who have been at end of life and have looked back to see what was most important. Nathan, it was never about the money. It was never about the big house or houses. It was never about the great travel or the stuff. Okay. It was never, they never said, I wish I would have had better cars for myself and my family, or an RV or something. It was always, I wish I'd spent more time with the people I cared about. That was like number one always. And so that resonates for me today. It's like, whatever you have to do, don't let society drive you to think you need to compare with everybody else, because you look outside and everybody on Facebook and wherever you are in your community, everybody's like living the big life. Like it's all good. And if you don't have this and this and this, you're not worthy. Baloney. Inside, I'll tell you, because I get to see inside a lot of people who look good on the outside, but inside, internally, with finances and relationships and family, many are not good. So please stop comparing yourself to what the outside world shows you. most of it's a facade. I'm just telling you, most of it's a facade. Be happy inside first. Live your life for your life. You'll be much happier all through your life, and you won't get stuck in the constraints of society dictates. So those are a few. I mean, I can give more, but I don't want to overrun your show. This is your show, not mine.
Yeah, you know what? I need to end this podcast early so I can cook breakfast for my wife to build a relationship.
Exactly. I give you permission.
You know what? Most dentists are very busy providing dental care to their patients, running their practices. You know, we wear like a lot of hats, right? So sometimes we don't focus on what's important in life, such as relationship and health. So other than running a business, what other important areas do you think dentists should focus on to have a balanced life?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, and I think I'll give those answers, but I think the biggest problem is when I give those answers, people go, well, yeah, check the box. Yeah, that makes sense. I need to work on my health. I need to work on relationships. I need to work on giving back. We all want to do those things. We do. We're not like oblivious to that. The big problem, Nathan, is that yeah, you're right. Running that business, or really that business runs us most of the time, because again, what are we focused on? We're focused on what we were trained to do in school, to be the very best clinician, and we want to continue to aspire to do that better. So we take CE courses and learn better treatment, and like you've done, you've got a whole array of services you can provide. That takes a lot of work. It takes keeping up. A lot of time goes into that. But we have this thing called a business now. It's not just a practice, it's a business. And we think that just by being the best clinician, that's going to take care of us. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It's important. Don't get me wrong. It's very important to have high standards and high deliveries of care. But the business side has become a bigger piece. So how do we do that? How do we balance wanting to do the work we were trained to do, but have a business? Leadership. You've got to learn more leadership about how you hire and bring staff around you that complement you, that are on the same page. It's about culture, things that like Lisa Mergens talks about a lot. I mean, there's people that are really good at this. I just know how important it is. So I'm just giving you the constructs of why it's important. But the leadership, having what Dr. Mike Abernathy would call a self-managed team. People go, are you kidding? I mean, I have to come in and tell my team to do everything. Well, it's just because we've got it backwards. We don't know what we don't know. We were taught in our lives that we have to be responsible for everything, that we have to control everything. And so we come at life that way. We come at our practice and business that way. That doesn't work. There's no leverage in that. Leverage is the key. To leverage other people's time, talents, experiences. That's our people around us. That's our staff. We've got to empower them, but we got to hire the right people first. So once you do that, you can have, because I know, and you've gone that way. You can have a practice, a business that doesn't require you to wear all those hats, because you can't. You'll burn out at some point, even if you think you can keep it up because you're strong and you're healthy and you got the work ethic. You can for a while do that. At some point, you're going to start burning out. Your mind will burn out. Your body's going to burn out, because none of us were built like that. Think about pro athletes, Nathan. They get pro athletes that are gifted and blessed to go out and get big contracts to play football or baseball or basketball. Their lifespan isn't like 30 years, is it? It's not, but we think that our bodies are able to go do dentistry, which is very demanding, both physically and mentally. It's very demanding. And then also, we're supposed to be a business owner on top of that. Our bodies and minds weren't made to take that kind of, I don't want to call it abuse, but it's kind of abusive, that hard. We need to learn how to leverage other systems and people so that we can not have to do it all. And there's lots of ways to do that, lots of constructs, lots of business models. But I think if people just get the takeaway is you can't do it all yourself. You've got to give up that and learn from other people, because it's not natural. You've got to learn from other people, model other people that are doing it, learn how they've done it. It's a struggle like anything to get through that, but it's worthwhile to do it.
Yeah, leadership is so important. I asked Dr. Abernathy the same questions, and he did mention leadership as well. Now, what I learned from you is to always have a plan B, because we don't know if we can practice dentistry forever, right? So I know you're a firm believer of building passive cash flow via real estate investments. Why real estate, and how can people like dentists get into real estate investment to start having that passive income in the future for themselves and their families?
Nathan, I believe investing is best done into capital assets. Capital assets versus or opposed to financial assets. Now, again, I'm not telling people to go run for the hills and take all the money out of whatever they're invested in, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whole life insurance. I'm not telling people to go do that. I'm just saying that could be a piece of it. But for me, what I learned early in life by not only experience, but what I read in mentors, capital assets. So what's a capital asset? Well, a capital asset is a business. If you've got a real business that's not totally dependent upon you, you've got a capital asset of some, and you can be passive, you can be semi active in it, or you can be very active in it, but you still want a business where it doesn't require you to be there every day. So that's a true capital asset when it's not dependent upon you. A lot of practices are not capital assets; they're jobs, but that's a discussion for another time. The other capital asset that I really like, you mentioned it, is real estate. Real estate, a capital asset that once acquired is set up to produce income by the occupants of the property. It can be a single family house. It could be a multifamily apartment complex. It could be a self-storage unit. It could be a mobile home park. I mean, there's all kinds of real estate capital assets. They all work, just picking the one you want. I started that way very early because I was reading books when I was in school. I'm a lot like you and a lot of us. I'm an information seeker. I want to learn more about a lot of things. And I knew I needed to learn early in life how to be a good steward of the money someday I would have, because I didn't have any money when I was reading books. But I read books on the stock market. I read books on real estate. Real estate made sense to me. The stock market didn't. And I said, again, I'm kind of a control guy. So I thought real estate's something I can control. I don't have to just put my money and hope somebody else manages it somewhere. Nope, I can control it. Does that take work? Intention? Yes, it does. But it was worthwhile because it provided my plan B. 15 years into my practice, my daughter, a little bit shy of 15 years. Actually, I was probably only 12 years into practice. My daughter became very, very, very sick. Leukemia, and then she had epilepsy, and then she had to have a liver transplant by the time she was 12. My real estate that I built up through intention was providing enough cash flow that I could make the decision back in 2004 and 2005 to sell my practice. It was not an easy decision, but I made it because I saw a greater need. My family needed me, and I was willing to take off the hat, but the dentist hat. But the reason I could do that is because I had passive cash flow that was built up over those years of acquiring real estate. So to get down to your point, how can other dentists do that to build a plan B wealth outside of their primary asset, which is the practice? Focus there first, always. But to do that, it's really who you know. Real estate is a wonderful asset, but different from the stock market. You don't just go online and click the mouse or have a financial advisor do it for you. You have to know people. It's an inefficient market, which gives opportunity, but it means you've got to know people. You've got to have some constructs about how to do it. I'm not here to sell what I do, what I teach at all. Excuse me. But my passion is to help other dentists with that and to make the speed to goal, the speed to implementation super fast. You can do it like I did. You can start out if you're 26 years old and learn, and that's one way to do it. But a lot of people don't have time. It's like they're in mid-career and they're trying to figure out an exit strategy or a plan B. It's like, how do you do it faster? I'm just about speed. I'm about speed. I can take people through the narrows, through the ups and downs, through the mistakes or minefields that they would otherwise make and get it done faster just because of the constructs of the network that I've built up over 35 years. People I know, it's all about putting people together. It's about connection. It's about connection. That's what it is in life.
Yeah, sound like you have a system in place and strategies that can help other dentists get into real estate. So that's awesome. The last question I have for you is it's my favorite question actually. Is what makes you happy in life?
What makes you happy in life? For me today, I can honestly say it's having impact on other people, and that starts with my own family, my own my daughter who's doing well today. But I want to be a model for her. I want to help her to live her best life and not have her be indoctrinated by what society says you have to do to be happy. I want that for my family. Even though I'm not a practicing dentist, I still get to be involved with my colleagues, with my industry. That's what's so fun today. And so I kind of get to live vicariously through other people's lives. Yeah, I'm a disruptor because I like to make people think, but I get the chance to work with really, really fun and great people who also have the same vision in life. And many people are so close. They're so close to that inflection point of working hard and having great practices and doing great work. And they're so close to that inflection point of getting that next step to what I call freedom. And freedom doesn't mean selling your practice. Freedom doesn't mean retiring from dentistry. It means doing it the way you want to, not because you have to, but because you want to. And the gift of having freedom and having debt paid off and having additional income streams means you can breathe. You can say, I don't have to be dictated to by PPO insurance, or I can do it the way I want to do it, and I don't have to stress. People shouldn't have to wait until they're 60 or 65 years old or 70 years old to finally say, oh, finally I can quit this thing because I'm tired of it. No, I want people to like enjoy life now, and you can do it. You could, quote, have it all, but you got to do it by intention. The frameworks you build when you're starting out with your practice, and how you build that the right way, and then moving that into other assets so that you can actually enjoy it. That's what makes me have fun today. The more people I can help, the more people I can get that message to, however they want to do it. I just want people to think differently, Nathan. I don't want people to live their lives the way society has dictated. It doesn't have to be that way. We can evolve in our lives. We can do things for a period of years, and we can change horses a little bit. You don't have to just do the same thing the same way for 30, 35, 40 long years, unless you want to. And that's cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we end this interview, do you have any last words or advice for our viewers?
Yeah, I would say, surround yourself with people, your peer group, mentors, within dentistry, even outside of dentistry, people that will challenge your thinking. It doesn't mean, see, we never know it all. We can be smart, very intelligent. I know all dentists are, but we don't know it all. And we need to be challenged about our thinking sometimes, just to make sure we're on track. Are we doing things the best way we could? Are we optimizing everything that we have in our hands, making the best with our family and our time and things we do? Most times we're not. Most times there's things that we can at least tweak a little bit. But how do we know unless we're around people who also have the same values, philosophy in life, that can say, hey, you're doing great, Nathan Ho, but what if you thought about this? And you go, never thought about that. That always scared me, or never thought that was possible. There's a lot of things possible that we just don't dream, that we don't think are possible. We get into life and we start getting kind of beat down by all the stresses, and we kind of like settle a lot of times. I don't want people to settle. Never settle in life. I guess I'll leave it there. Don't settle.
Yeah, thank you so much for those advice. And you know what? One more thing, actually, a couple months ago, I attended one of your meeting, and it was so awesome. And a month later, this is what I received right here, right? My number one priority to-do list, and by the date, and Freedom Founders on the bottom, right? I know you have another event coming up in February. Can you tell us about that event? Because all of your events are so well organized, and you provide so much value and information to all the attendees.
Well, because I have a heart for younger dentists who are not ready to get involved in real estate or stuff. They need to focus on what they have, right? The practice, how to pay off debt, how to build teams. I can speak to that, but I'm not the best at fulfilling that, but I still want to speak. So we're doing a workshop in Dallas in February 8th and 9th. So coming up in a few weeks, and you're going to be there. And I've picked some other people that are really good at practice optimization. Dr. Mike Abernathy, we talked about him earlier, that are really good about that. I'll facilitate, but it's going to be workshop style, workshop where we're going to have frameworks, and the dentists who are going to be there are going to work through their plan with other people. See, that's where I think the rubber meets the road. You don't want to do everything solo in life. You want to have other people along with you on the journey. And when you're working through your constructs, your challenges, your opportunities, and you do it with other people, you get more clarity, you get more attention. And so it's going to be workshop style, 2 days with great people there to facilitate. I made it really, really affordable because I just want to touch lives. And so that's available. You can go to freedomfounders.com website if anybody's interested in looking at that particular type of workshop. We'll do a few more this year as well.
Awesome, David. Thank you so much for all your insights and wisdom. We really appreciate you for sharing your journey and all the great advice with us. And I also appreciate everyone for watching this Coffee Break interview video podcast with Dr. David Phelps. Until next time, take care.